लाइव हो गए।
अच्छा ये लाइव
हेलो, हाँ सर डाल रहे हैं अभी, स्टार्ट ही करिए। हेलो, हाँ जी सर। सर मैं डाल दूँ, अगर आपको डालना है तो आप डाल दीजिए। ठीक है मैं डाल रहा हूँ, ठीक है मैं डाल रहा हूँ।
Greetings from Indian Medical Association, and it's our weekly webcast through digital IMA in association with Librate, our digital partner, and eMedinexus, our webcast partner. This update is being brought to you every Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. on a new subject, and every week we have a new panelist, a faculty member with whom we discuss various issues related to the medical profession. To watch this, you can see it on the IMA website, but you can also watch this webcast at emedinexus.com. And under this platform is like a Facebook platform. And not only you should be able to watch live, but you should be able to interact also. With me joins Dr. V.K. Munga to interact, and on my right our faculty is Mr. Rahul Gupta, and he is an IMA advocate, and he is practicing in Delhi High Court and Supreme Court and also other courts for over 2 to 3 decades. He is also working with us at Indian Medical Association for quite some time and has been helping Indian Medical Association on various issues. We thought of interacting with him for the next 1 hour on certain issues. Some of the issues we'll discuss is the issues related to IMA, but we'll also try to find out some issues which are in general, which are related to general law. Rahulji, there is a awareness called health awareness, and then simultaneously there is also a legal awareness. But if I equate both the things together, people are more health conscious than legal conscious. There are more doctors creating health awareness, giving courses in the health, preventive, but that preventive legal awareness is lacking somewhere. Is there any reason, or is it not allowed, or?
No, I feel if people are more conscious and more aware towards health, because health comes foremost. Health comes foremost. Once you are healthy, then other thoughts will come in your mind. So everybody's first priority is health, and then it may go on to legal. I think that may be a natural sequence of things to happen.
So these are like the hierarchy of needs. In the
I
hierarchy
feel
of
so.
needs, first will be roti,
You
kapda,
may
makan.
be going to a doctor n number of times in a year,
Yes.
but to a
Lawyer, it may be lesser number.
maybe even once or twice a
Yes.
lifetime, you know.
Yes. Today there will be more people going to doctors for different advices. It may be for some disease, it may be for some surgery, and it may be for some health style issue. But people are always a little hesitant in getting into any legal issue.
They want to avoid the
And
courts.
more particularly when people also know that the results in legal are quite delaying.
But don't you
and
think
very
that
tedious.
if people are more legally aware, less number of cases will be filed, but they'll take more precautions. They will not be able, nobody will be able to cheat them. Today, as on today, people say, just as for example, a bank people will come and they'll come back and say, sign this, sign this, sign this.
Correct.
Why I'm raising this point is because most of the patients, when we ask them to sign for a consent form, they don't want to listen.
refuse.
No, they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to us. They say, "Wait, just tell me where to sign."
Correct.
I say, at least read them.
Mm.
Chodo dak sir. They will just sign it. They don't want to read.
They don't want to read
They don't want to read.
and they fastly want to sign.
They will say
Wherever.
wherever. He says, how many? 7 papers? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's all. Go for the surgery.
Mm.
And then if something happens, they will say, we were not told.
Correct. You see, if we look at this phenomena of getting papers signed, then I think all over, people sign these papers without reading them, because firstly the papers are quite in detail, then people are by nature impatient, and thirdly they also know somewhere in their minds that if later any problem will occur, maybe they are able to go to the court and make out a case that when they were signing the papers, they were not explained everything, all the details were not told to them, and then it becomes a matter of law, and the courts have to go through the process to adjudicate whether the signing of the paper alone is sufficient to either make a person liable or to absolve a person from any liability, and the courts then have to independently adjudicate the matter, irrespective of that a person has signed the papers. So that itself is
Why I'm asking
sufficient
this
for the
question
court.
is there is like a consent in medical form. There is a consent. I'm not talking about the implied consent. There is a consent when you want to take a consent for a particular surgery or for a procedure.
Right.
Signature is not consent.
No, signature may be a consent, but it will all depend upon circumstances, upon facts. If it's a case of somebody's signatures on a check, it may be a different situation.
No, I'm talking about suppose I write down 4 lines, printed consent form and get it signed. Then it may not be considered as a consent because the person will say, I was made to sign the paper without explaining. So
Yes.
the consent will include that I need to explain,
Make him
and
understand.
make him understand, and then he has to agree that I have understood,
been explained, I have been,
that I have understood,
and I have understood.
and then I have understood and I have been explained in my own language, and I have understood, and I give my consent. So unless that statement comes by the patient, which never happens, therefore 90% of the disputes in the medical profession are because nobody explained us.
But Dr. Sir, I'll share one more thought, that let us assume that when a patient goes to a doctor or a nursing home or a hospital and he's explained also, and he accepts that he has been explained also, and he also accepts that he has understood also, and then he signs. And later on something happens when that person goes and challenges or files some claim. But it will not mean that just because he has signed at that time, so there will be a shut case.
No, the portion that the misconduct because of consent will not arise. Now the case will go on the merit.
Hmm.
The case will now go on its merit, whether there was any omission or commission.
Hmm.
Consent means there is a consent, you go ahead. So there is no dispute. Now you are going ahead. Now is there any omission or commission? Then the case will be an omission or a commission.
So in any case, at least the process of courts and the dispute continues.
So that is a different issue. But
That goes on.
then most of the time in the medical cases, consent is the major, proper consent was not taken. That is their major issue.
Okay.
And that itself is a professional misconduct. Not taking a proper consent is a professional misconduct, and for that also you can be punished. Second, in medical council of India, when I say next to kin, in the legal law, consent has to be signed by next to kin. But in medical council of India, there is a clause where they say it has to be the patient or the spouse. So next of kin is not written.
Okay.
So therefore, my son cannot give my consent. I cannot give a consent for my father. If my father is alive, I cannot give a consent for my brother.
Correct.
Okay?
Or my father cannot give it for me.
You cannot give it for me. But so is it in general consent? What is the law? Because why in medical law it is specifically written the patient or the spouse. So we are always in the fix. What happens is one of them is not available. Usually in Indian circumstances, the wife doesn't come out of the house.
Correct. They
Is
may
the
be
children?
separated.
Is the no? Once it is separated, then it is next to kin. Then it will become whosoever next to kin automatically.
Okay.
I'm talking about usually
If both are there.
The children will bring the father to get it examined, to get it admitted. The wife will stay at home. And who will give the consent? So normally consent has to be signed by the children. So we have been all over decades we have been presuming. But now, if you read the law, it is very clearly says consent has to be or the patient or the spouse.
In the Medical Council of India Act.
In the Medical Council of India, codes of ethics regulations is very clearly written. Consent means, I'm talking about major.
Are the doctors following this spouse thing? And no, but they are not.
No.
They are having it from the son. They are
If
having
you are
it
not
Whosoever is available.
I'll give you-
Whosoever is
Now,
available.
why this question came? Why this question came? The question came was in the case of Prabha Manchanda case. There was a case of a girl, 40-year-old lady. The matter went to the Supreme Court. It's interesting.
Okay.
The matter went to the Supreme Court, and then the lady was unmarried. The girl in question, she gave a consent of diagnostic laparotomy for the purpose of diagnosis. Laparoscopic machine. Laparotomy means opening the abdomen and seeing inside.
Okay.
That consent was taken
By the patient
by
herself.
the patient herself. During the surgery, when the patient was anesthetized, the doctor found something inside. So she came out. The sister and the mother were there. They explained to the mother that the patient has severe endometriosis. So either I close, do nothing, she will require hysterectomy, removal of uterus. So either I close and get it done later. So they gave the consent.
For removal of the uterus.
Removal of the uterus. The consent was given by
The mother.
Yes, Ira, please join us. So with us, Ira Gupta is also a IMA lawyer, and she has joined us. So when the consent was given, so she operated. So when she was operated, and after that she said to the doctor, "Why the hell you removed my uterus?"
Okay.
So she said, "Your mother gave consent, your sister gave consent. Yes, this is fine. You should have removed the uterus of my mother. You should have removed the uterus of my sister. Why did you remove my uterus? Who are there to give me consent?" So the matter went up to the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Okay. The matter went up to the Supreme Court, and the clear-cut decision was doctor was at fault.
Because they could have taken consent only from the patient or
Extended
the spouse.
consent. The extended consent cannot be taken by extended consent. Primary consent was by the patient. Secondary consent, you are taking it from the family, is not allowed. Extended consent, unless it was an emergency. It was not an emergency case. And at that time, the whole medical fraternity started reading about the consent. And then we came to know the consent has to be signed only by the patient or by the spouse. Number one. And number two, the consent cannot be extended, cannot be presumed. So she says, you have taken my consent for a diagnostic procedure. Who are my sister or my mother to give a consent for a hysterectomy?
So we may have to.
Now, these are the cases we are also finding it in Medical Council of India on lots of cases are coming. Say for example, there is another consent that for any procedure which can end up with sterilization, for any procedure which can end up into sterilization, consent of both are required.
Correct. That's logical also.
Health Ministry says consent of both is not required. Medical Council of India says consent of both are required. So then what happens in two cases is, there is a controversy. So misuse is, the husband will come back and say, do a tibectomy of my wife. Because he will not tell her, he will get it done. And later on he says, she's not producing second child, I want to marry again.
Correct.
These are the
There will be
cases
complications.
which can be the complications of that.
Complications. So then ultimately what flows out from all this is that firstly we may have to see the judgment which have been given by the Supreme Court on this issue of consent. Because ultimately the Supreme Court is the last word on law. And we may have to examine those judgments and to see what direction.
The directions are very clear. The consent is, Medical Council of India access regulations are very clear.
That may be very clear as on date.
As on date, obviously.
But law is always evolving.
Absolutely.
Because new issues come up, they are addressed, they are presented, and then new direction comes. So, but yes, to understand the issue, we may have to examine the Supreme Court judgments, then we may have to see the provisions of Medical Council of India Act, we may also have to see whatever the Health Ministry is saying, and then accordingly we may have to.
Okay, another issue is that there is a human organ transplant act.
Yes.
That decides about corneal transplant, that decides about all transplant in the body.
Yes.
And they are written, one clause. I can't remember the clause number. The clause is very clear that while selecting cases for transplant, you need to give preference like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So local person, then the regional person, then state person, then national person, then PIO, then NRI, and then foreigner. Can the law differentiate? Because can I differentiate as a doctor my patients that you are a foreigner, you will be on the last waiting list. You are not a foreigner, you will be the first waiting list. Similarly, in surrogacy, government is saying that don't do surrogacy foreigners. How can as a doctor differentiate whether this is a foreigner or not foreigner? Can a foreigner come to me and I say, with acute heart attack, I won't treat you? How can medical profession? How
I
can
think the distinction what they are making between Indians and foreigners is in respect of surrogacy.
no? The
Not
Human
for
Organ
emergency
Transplant Act.
situations.
No, in the Organ Transplant Act, for kidney, suppose if I want to give a cornea, I have a cornea available. And if I want to give a cornea to somebody, so the foreigner will come on the last choice. Why? Why as a doctor, I should discriminate? For me, whosoever comes first, I should be able to give him a cornea.
That's all right. For a doctor's point of view, it may be all right. But then, if we have to look at the act and the statute, then
Is that
we
act
may
not
have
wrong?
to.
I'm saying, is
No,
that-
it can't be. We can't say that so fast or abruptly that the statute is wrong, because we may have to see what has been the objects of that act, why they have laid down that criteria, because we will find something in the objects of the act when they were laying down that classification, when they were laying down that categories, and then only we may have to apply our mind to say whether the act is in any manner violating any fundamental rights, and whether there is any chance of challenging the law in the court being ultra vires. But if we examine the statute, and on examination of the objects of the statute, we find that whatever classification, categorization that they have laid down is somewhere reasonable, then we may have to follow it, though it may be somewhere working contrary to the.
I'll give you another example, similar situation. You go to GP Pant hospital.
Hmm.
This is being funded by the government,
Yes.
okay? And you say, I need treatment, they will treat you. No problem. You go attend the OPT, they will treat you, they will do everything. Suddenly now they will say you need a stent.
Mhm.
Okay? Okay, I said, go and put me the stent, but that's free. No, you are from Noida, I cannot put you.
Hmm.
You are from Haryana, I cannot put you. You are from Noida, you are from Faridabad, you are from. So why you accepted me for the last 1 year? Why you are treating me for the last 1 year? If it is a state hospital, then why you are accepting a patient in the OPD itself?
Hmm.
In the OPD you are allowing, you are treating me for the last 5 years. When it now comes to the stenting, this is state law doesn't permit. Is this not a discrepancy?
See, Doctor, there may be thousands of situations like this.
Every day.
There may be thousands of situations. But
I'm
then-
only picking up social issues
Uh,
to end at the end, which social issue which we can pick it up as a PIL.
hmm.
I'm only discussing that these are the issues. If you feel that yes, this issue we should challenge, let's do it.
Hmm. So we may have to examine them. We may have to examine the situation under the facts of the case and the laws which are applicable in that situation.
Their answer is very clear that GV Pant is funded by the government. Stents are only available for people who are
Citizens of
the citizens of Delhi. If fine, I don't deny that. I'm not denying that.
Mm.
But then you should be very clear. We will not entertain any patient who is not eligible.
No, but that may not be a condition in the law because treatment may be available.
But then I
But
will tell him.
stenting may not be.
But then they have to tell the patient that whenever stenting is required, we will not treat you. He would have chosen another hospital.
Hmm.
Now he says that for the last 4 years I'm getting treatment with you. I would have gone to somewhere else in a government hospital in UP.
Hmm. So see, then this will be a matter of.
Is this a matter?
awareness.
Is this a matter which we can raise or not? I mean, I'm putting it for us for thought.
Mm.
Another thing is very important. You go to any. Suppose I go to AIMS or if I go to Pant Hospital. I'm giving an example.
Hmm.
This is no date available for surgery. Risk explained to the patient. Okay? And that's it.
Hmm.
No date available. Date available is 4 years, 5 years, 6 years.
Hmm.
Where should person go? Who is responsible for his death?
But with that, the responsibility of the hospital finishes?
I'm asking this question.
See,
I'll right away give you a complete file with me where the date is given in 24. 8 years later, I don't know which years they gave the date for the surgery, and condition of the patient is he's not going to survive till that period.
Well, then what is the period within which the surgery was required to be done?
Maximum a year, 6 months to 1 year.
In that particular case,
Yes.
which we are talking about, the surgery is compulsorily required within 6 months to a year, and AIMS is giving them a date, let's say,
AIMS or
after 4
anybody
years.
else.
See, as a responsible institution, AIMS should either then provide an alternate institution to the patient. And they should inform the patient that within their institution.
We have
the
two
date is
cases
not
of
available.
Justice Manmohan's case.
Hmm.
2 cases of high courts are available where people have approached and they have directed government to pay.
Correct.
But then how to do that? I mean, there's individual cases who reach, they get benefit. But every day they are saying, no date available, no date available. Where will the poor go? So therefore, my question is, what are the constitutional rights?
The
For a
constitutional
poor
rights
person.
are there,
For a poor person.
as you yourself said that High Court has granted them compensation or given directions to the government authorities or whatever orders High Court has passed in favor of the patient. So constitutional rights are upheld. So there is no doubt on that. But ultimately the problem is the number of people in the country and the institutions available to render services. Because if we have a population of 125 crores people and the institutions are so few in number, the hospitals are so few in numbers, so then there can't be a balance. We can't expect everything to be moving in a smooth manner. There would be situations like this because when we don't have the resources for that number of population, then there would always be imbalances. Then this is a simple case of imbalance. Considering the population of the country and considering the institutions which
But
are
how is I am as a citizen, how am I concerned with whether you have resources or not?
Correct. So
I'm not bothered about that. For me, it is 0 or 100.
correct. So that's why there would be
Or
cases,
my
there would be
my answer
claims.
will be, suppose I am a poor man and I need a surgery, I can't afford. Okay? So my answer will be, how am I concerned with whether you have a fight in Kashmir, whether you have
Correct.
why you are putting so much burden,
Correct.
so much of your budget for army, so much
You-
budget for defense. I need my surgery.
Correct. You need your surgery, but then if it will be available, you will get it. If it's not available, how will you get
It
it?
is available. It is being done for everybody.
But
then
that number is not coming.
get,
It is after 8 years.
get me done in a private hospital. Pay the private hospital. Reimburse me.
Correct.
Fix money.
So then there should be availability of surgery in a private hospital
It is available every
to a
day.
poor patient
No.
and the government to reimburse.
Yes.
So then that mechanism should be evolved.
Therefore, that's why is that mechanism can we fight for that mechanism in the country? I'm again raising a point.
See,
What I am
today already we have certain provisions where private institutions are also required to provide some
They are-
percentage of, but that's
No,
very minimal.
That is very minimum.
Very
This one.
insignificant. Now, if you raise this issue of let's say 60% of the total population today being poor people living below poverty, and if they all have to be provided medical aids.
No, lifestyle. We are talking about life-saving, those life-saving medical procedures.
Life-saving procedures also.
We are discussing life-saving medical procedures, whether they amount to 1 lakh crores, whether they amount to 50,000 crores rupee annual. Government has to make a budget. Government has to make it.
So this may be a major issue. This may be a major issue.
You are talking about that we are going to spend 1 lakh crore in bullet train. Why?
Why not consider medical
Why not? Why not?
services
Why
first?
not? Why not? Why a poor man should die?
Correct. That way, the priority of the government must also be clear. They must also be defined, and things should move in a manner where they appeal to the people.
Is there any legal service available in Delhi where poor man can go and he says that this is my card, I need this surgery, I can't afford, okay? Get me a relief from the High Court.
Maybe it can be given a try.
Because I get a everyday case of right away in one of the hospitals. A poor patient is admitted. For the last 3 days, his pharmacy is closed. That means the hospital refuses to give
Medicines.
any medicines. He says first you cleared the previous bill, and then every day the bill is compiling. He says when I don't have money, you keep me for 5 days, bill will go on increasing. I can't pay. Then who pays for that? Somewhere, something has to be done. Somewhere something has to be done. For these poor people, I'm asking, is there any legal mechanism today, that is some legal service available? Who does
Legal
that?
service.
If not, IM is willing to hire one lawyer, keep it as a full time, only for this job. Or Healthcare Foundation of India is willing to hire put a lawyer on salary whose job is only if poor approaches, he files an application. He doesn't have to be a very senior lawyer. His job is to appraise the High Court. This is the situation, now tell us what to do. Then what will happen is, at least one life can be saved extra every day.
If the court can give the relief in a day or two.
Such cases in any way, if there is an emergency, they will file for it. I don't think so. If there is no emergency, court will not intervene.
Hmm.
Suppose there is a date of 2 years and he can wait for 2 years, that's fine. But suppose the patient needs surgery immediately. I'm only talking about life-threatening emergencies where people's death are concerned, life and death are concerned.
Yes, this can
I'm
be
only talking about
surely-
my right to live versus right to die. Otherwise, I'm going to die.
This can be surely examined, that how best some legal remedies can be made available to a person in need of medical life-saving services, and it can be explored how fast relief can be got from the courts, and the life of the person can be saved. It can be examined.
Now you file an PIL in the court and say that the doctor, fraternity, or everybody wants.
See, in PIL, if you file-
The mechanism has to be developed.
If you file PIL, the PIL will fail because governments will say that states have to decide, it's a state matter, if the state can't do, what can we do? Government can't decide the budget, government can't direct, I don't know whether the court can direct the government to say that increase your GDP for this much. I don't think so.
There is a fund
But
available with the chief minister, Jan Kalyan Kosh, something like that.
there is Arogya Nidhi.
Arogya Nidhi
There is
goes,
a Arogya Nidhi national, there are lots of funds available.
But that's too time consuming, I mean, you need contacts
No,
also.
that is also fine.
Yeah.
That is also fine. I'm only trying to say is mechanism where a person can approach. Okay, and if we find that too consuming, time consuming system is not working, take a legal relief. That's all. Not out of the way, take a legal
It
relief.
looks doable, I mean, I think we should.
No,
be
we can
able
give
to-
it a try. We can explore all the options available within the given circumstances.
So another thing I want to raise is, and then I want Monga to interact with you on this particular issue, and Ira also to join, that today, when I did my MBBS, so I did my MBBS with an idea, and we studied everything about patient care. Legal care was not taught to me. Medical Council of India ethics regulation were not taught to me in full stop and comma. I was taught ethics and a patient care. IPC was not taught to me at all. Indian Penal Code was not taught to me at all. Okay, except for rape
Some
and
broad-
some broad
Issues.
Issues.
In IBC, some cases.
something that human rights was not taught to me. But today what is happening is, when there is a case, okay, case means that my person has died, then why the bill is 4 lakhs? If 4 lakhs has been spent, patient should have suicide. So people are equating
Money.
amount of money
Life.
with life. And then the first complaint they file it is in the police. So the first they will do is they will call 100. First thing will be file 100 so that the police process is started. The police will come and they will register the case against the doctor, medical negligence. And now to the extent people have started talking sections. Extortion, people have started talking sections in this. Second thing is they will immediately go to the medical council, complain. So medical council will initiate its process. Third, somebody will advise them to go to consumer court. No money is required, no lawyer is required, they just have to file a complaint. So they will go and file a complaint in consumer court. And now they have started filing a complaint in the Human Rights Commission. Okay. How do I handle as a doctor?
See, situation is very grim, no doubt about it. Because somewhere things have to be balanced. Because every case of negligence is not false. But many cases may be false also. But Supreme Court has laid down the guidelines. So far as filing of a case under the Consumer Act is concerned for claims, compensation, they come under the civil law jurisdiction. And doctor may have to contest the case on its merits and prove before the competent forums that there was no negligence on the part of the doctor. And it is not that those courts are not applying their mind. national commission is there, state commissions are there, which are responsible forums, and they, on the merits of the matter, decide whether there was any negligence or not. And only if they find sufficient material and evidence to conclude that yes, there appears to have been a case of negligence on the part of the doctor, then they will award some compensation. So this will be in respect to Consumer Act cases, which are broadly civil jurisdiction. When you look at the criminal cases, which are mainly FIR cases, there also the Honorable Supreme Court, in the various judgments starting from Jacob Matthew, have laid down very strict guidelines for the police authorities before they register a case. They have made it obligatory, mandatory, and compulsory for the police authorities that before they want to register a case against a doctor for negligence, they must approach a independent medical body, an expert on that subject, and take his opinion whether on the material available, is there any prima facie case of negligence? And unless they obtain that independent opinion first, they cannot register a case. Because the courts are also aware about the problems which are going to be caused to the doctors by the frivolous cases, by false cases. So in order to protect the doctors from all the pain and agony and harassment, they have laid down some very strict guidelines. So doctors should read those judgments, doctors should be aware about those judgments, and they should be able to fight for their rights in those situations. And if they have not done anything wrong, if they have not been negligent, then they will be confident to fight their case and defeat the other
My
side.
purpose is different. If a complaint is filed against me in 4 forums, I cannot fight this.
Correct.
Because my mind will be, if there is one case,
Disturbed.
my mind will be disturbed only on those 4 cases.
And money also, expenses on everything.
Efforts also, energy also, your focus, your concentration, everything is gone.
I am telling you, see, I went
And
to...
I believe 90-95% of the cases are frivolous. They are turned down by all the consumer forums and the courts also. Only around 2 to 3% they get some punishment or compensation.
I went to Agra on that day. Monga was with me and we talked to the people. And I said, there was a nursing home people sitting there. I said, how much you charge for the surgery? Tell me what might be the answer. No, what would have been their answer?
In Agra for surgery.
1 lakh or 2
1 lakh. He says 6,000 we do the complete surgery. 6,000 rupiah.
the complete surgery.
Yes, they said our rate in a nursing home. He says we have 40 nursing homes in a row.
Okay.
Any surgery is done with a fixed 6,000 rupees, plus minus 1 or 2,000 rupees if required for medicines.
Why they so?
No. I said. So there is a doctor who is doing for 6,000. There is also a doctor who is doing for 6 lakhs. Let's forget about that. How will that? And then I went to Fagwada. I said they might be making a fool of me. How is possible to do it in 6,000? Sitting in Delhi, we don't think upon it.
Right.
So we went to Fagwada for a conference, and I was talking to people there. Fagwada is supposed to be richer than Agra. Fagwada, Punjab, they are more rich people with that. So I asked them, what is your average surgical cost? It is between 8 and 12,000. All surgeries are done, all expenses. Stay, everything, surgery, everything. He says it never crosses 12,000. 12,000 means person is very rich. In 8,000, 9,000, all surgeries are done. So for these people who are charging 6,000, 8,000, for those doctors who are charging 100, 150, 250 rupees consultation as a specialist, how do I protect them? Because if the cases are filed against them, they feel cheated. They feel cheated. They say, all my life I have done service for the community. And one case, they get disturbed and they says, go to hell, this profession. Am I doing this charity for the last 30 years for this thing to get it done? This for them I want to work. And
in
that's
case of compensation, it will be the same whether you are paying 40,000 for
Compensation,
surgery or
put your
10,000
views.
for surgery.
See, Dr. Sahab, on compensation, what we have seen in the recent past, let's say in the last 5 years, there have been various judgments given by the Honorable Supreme Court. And the compensation amounts have increased multifold. Like in the case of Kunal Saha, which has become a landmark case today, the amount of compensation awarded to the petitioner has gone above 6 crores. And with interest
Totally
thereon,
11
with interest it will touch more than 10 crores. Then in the case of V. Krishna Kumar later on, in fact in July 15 last year, the compensation amount has gone up to 1.80 CR, around 2 crores. That was a case where a child premature born was not properly diagnosed for retinopathy of prematurity, and the child became blind permanently. So that was a case.
And that's so 12 years after the child was born, and they took it as a continuity,
Yes,
as a case as a continuity, and the case was
yes.
taken up 12 years later.
So in that case, the compensation awarded was in the region of something like 1.80 CR. So recently we have found upward trend in the compensation amount, which is quite disturbing for the doctors. But
No,
then
it's not disturbing for us. It's disturbing
disturbing,
versus
distressing, devastating.
versus our commitment to the profession of not
Correct.
charging high to the people.
Correct.
So if you are, if I have been charging 1 lakh rupees as my appearance,
Correct.
if I appear in a hospital
Correct.
and I charge 1 lakh rupees for my consultation,
Correct.
there are
Maybe
people.
it's justified.
There is a cardiologist who charges 10 lakh for putting a stent.
Correct.
There is a surgeon who charges 10 lakhs for doing a bypass surgery. It's fine. For them, doesn't matter.
So that's why your point is well taken, that somewhere this issue may also have to be raised and to be addressed. That whenever there would be a case of compensation, the competent forums, whether it's consumer law or the courts, they may also have to analyze what was the fee being charged by the doctors in that particular case. They may also have to consider that. And though it's not considering,
They are not doing
no,
it.
maybe we don't know whether this was raised also or not.
I'll tell you one thing.
We don't know
I'll
whether
give you an
before the
example.
court this issue was
See,
raised also or not, because in the judgment we don't find the
Because
court
what
having
happens
rejected this
is,
issue.
but I'm telling you what the answer will, and what the answer is coming to the councils. Because this question is discussed in the council cases quite often. The person says, the patient says, that he asked me for a fee of 200 rupees, so I give him. So I gave him 100% of his fee. Okay, but that's his fee. He never told me that my fee is 20,000, I'm only charging 200. I would have paid him 20,000. He says my fees is 200 rupees. I gave him 100%. Now my worth is 2 crores. You have to give me 2 crores.
No, normally, practically, you won't find a person worth 2 crores before a doctor with 200 rupees.
No, that's an average fee. No, please. In Bihar, of every doctor, every specialist, the fee is 150 to 200 rupees. Top doctors.
Then in that case,
Top
in
doctors
Bihar,
I'm talking about.
then let's talk about the case from Bihar then. Then if we have a case from Bihar of compensation, then we will have some different
I don't think
result.
so. I don't think so because industrialists in Bihar will pay 200 rupees only. The maximum fees in Delhi for a specialist is 2,000 rupees.
Look, sir, what I am trying to say.
Even if
in a
you want to go
case
today,
of-
you want to go today to Naresh Trian and you want to show the fees is 600 rupees.
Oh, correct.
That's a charity.
But
That's a
consultation
charity.
fee alone is not the end of the matter. Na, in case of negligence,
Yes,
it
definitely.
is not only consultation fee where the things begin and stop. It is always when the medical treatment has gone on further. Some surgeries have been done. There is a case of death of a person, or there may be a case of permanent incapacity or disability of a patient. So it may not be solely limited to the consultation fee, because when a person has lost his life after a surgery,
His compensation. Yeah.
so he is asking for compensation, and that compensation is being decided today on the basis of the the stature of that person, his income, what was his employment, what was he doing in life, what was he earning, and how much of his income should be apportioned for his family, how much for his self expenditure, and then all those things. And that's how it's computed. So if there would be a case of very lower medical expenses, suppose we have two cases where persons have lost their life. One person has lost life after spending, let's say, 20 lakhs of rupees in the medical establishment, let's say in a metropolitan, whether it's Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta. And let's take another example where a person has lost his life in a remote small city, spending 1 lakh of rupees as the total medical expenses. Then obviously when both these cases will be tried before the court, we'll find some striking differences. It may not be that in both the cases, the compensation amount awarded by the courts would come out to be same.
Mitigating circumstances will always
Will
be
be
there
there.
for consideration.
So-
No, I want to divert because the time is only 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
We have the department, UNESCO is an international organization. So they have come out with some human rights definitions. And on medical ethics also they have come out with Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights.
Okay.
My first thing is, are they applicable to Indian law?
We'll have to find out.
We normally such, because there is no mention in our,
It will depend upon whether their reciprocity is there, whether the papers have been countersigned by our Indian government
no.
through their ministries. Only when they would
Okay.
have signed and they would have accepted them to be binding on them, that they shall be applicable on us. So it will depend. And then we may have to see under some treaties whether independently those rules will apply. If suppose we have signed some things in the past and we have accepted that whatever
we
rules they will
we
make,
should be able to examine it.
so we should be able to.
We should be able to examine it. Now I want some answers or some definitions. What does it mean? They say there are 16 of them by ethics regulations.
Okay.
One is human dignity
Mm.
and human rights. So it's a duty of the doctor to maintain human dignity and human right. What does it mean?
See, human dignity will mean that you have to be treating a patient with all humanness, good conduct, good behavior, and you may not treat a patient in a bad manner, which makes a human dignity, which brings shame to human dignity. That may be human dignity, and human rights would be a much stronger legal term, where we come under the constitution when we talk about fundamental rights.
So they are defined.
So they would be defined.
They would be defined.
Yes, they would be defined.
Second, they talk about it, benefit and harm.
Benefit and harm.
Benefit and two things together, benefit and harm. That means you have to work. Your
For the
primary
benefit of
importance
the
has to be
patient.
from the benefit, and your first and while treating, your first aim should be no harm.
Correct.
So this is universal.
This is universal.
Autonomy and individual responsibility. The autonomy of persons to make decisions while taking responsibility for those decisions and respecting the autonomy of others is to be respected. That means if a person says that I don't want treatment, it's fine.
If a person is independently taking a decision
So he can
and
refuse
doesn't
treatment.
want treatment, then we can't work on him.
You can't. Suppose a patient is admitted in a hospital in an ICU, he's serious, you know that he's going to die without treatment. If he says, I don't want treatment, can I disconnect and discharge him?
I think it should be like that.
Okay.
I think
And then individual responsibility. For persons who are not capable of exercising autonomy, special measures are to be taken to protect their rights and interests.
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Then consent. Consent we can understand. Person without capacity to consent is fine.
Ah,
Respect of human vulnerability and personal integrity. They said in applying and advancing scientific knowledge, medical practice, and associated technologies, human vulnerability should be taken into account.
correct.
Individuals and groups of special vulnerability should be protected, and the personal integrity of such individuals respected. Are they talking about disability? Are they talking about what?
No, in vulnerability, what they are talking about is the risk factors. Because doctor is competent. Doctor knows that this is the technology, this is the science that I am going to apply on the patient. So the doctor must always be careful that whatever is this technology in this treatment which I am going to work on the patient, it should not be any hazard. It should not be any risk to the patient. That must be clear in the mind of the doctor.
Privacy and confidentiality, I can understand. Privacy is for the person, confidentiality is for the information.
Mhm.
And the equality, justice, and equity. How do we define these together?
See, equality is again between persons,
Hmm.
person to person, between two persons, between the people at large, equality. So, a doctor must always in his mind have this principle of equality, because these are all principles of fairness. When you say equality, equity,
And justice.
and justice, all these three terms, they are all flowing out from.
They are trying to define it that giving justice to all treatment to all human beings, which is equality is all human beings,
Yes.
and same treatment is equity. Is what they are trying to define.
Yes.
So that means no differentiation.
There shouldn't be. Suppose you have a poor patient or you have a rich patient, you have different classes of patients, but the treatment being given by the doctor must be
But
consistent
it is
and
different.
uniform.
Nobody follows that. Whoever doesn't get the treatment.
But then that's
Non-discrimination and non-stigmatization.
Non-discrimination is again flowing out from equality, that there shouldn't
And
be any
stigmatization.
discrimination. And stigmatization is that a doctor must always avoid any treatment, any procedure on a patient which may in any manner result into any stigma on the patient, on his career, on his
So
body.
discrimination is like poor versus rich, the Bania versus
Whatever
Brahmin,
caste,
and
creeds.
stigmatization is even TB as a stigma, HIV as a stigma. Respect for cultural diversity and pluralism, which is fine. Solidarity and cooperation. Solidarity among human beings and international cooperation towards that end are to be encouraged. And then social responsibility and health. This I want to discuss. Social responsibility and health. Because this is my personal issue.
Most troublesome.
Is my and last is of course sharing of benefits and protecting future generation, protecting the environment. Now this social responsibility is 17-year-old girl eats 10 tablets of Elpex. She comes to me. I know 10 tablets will do nothing.
Okay.
Medically, I know 10 tablets can do nothing.
Okay.
Okay, she's going to be all right. Even no treatment is necessary. Once she is reported to the hospital, I have to file a police case. By law. So my law says file a police case.
Okay, for 10 tablets of
Whether it is one tablet or two tablets, if it is
prohibited.
more than the prescription, it is a suicidal attempt. She took it for the suicidal attempt. Okay. So parents says don't do it, she's unmarried, she's this, she's that. So I don't do it. On a social ground. And next day she eats 40 and dies. I'm gone. That I did not inform the police. Therefore I
See, these situations will always be there in life. There can't be a solution to them. When you don't do a particular thing or you do a particular thing considering those facts and circumstances, and tomorrow something untoward happens. So these are those situations which are in the category of beyond anybody's control. Because today life is all uncertain. The concept of life is uncertain. So we can't make any system which makes our life certain for future.
You have to play that risk.
One has to play that risk in life always. So we can't reconcile this situation that today if a doctor has not reported the matter to the police against a 17-year-old girl for having consumed 10 tablets of Elprex, considering the social interest of that patient or her family, and tomorrow if the same girl takes 40 tablets and then the doctor is held responsible, then what it means is that from tomorrow every doctor must start reporting the matter to the police. But that also can't be done. That also can't be one way of handling the things. So
that's what we're saying. That's a dilemma.
So
Facing
that's a
every day.
dilemma.
We
So
don't know.
life will always be a
If
dilemma.
I was, see, the way I was trained. I was trained in MGIMS Sevagram. My boss used to tell me, I advise on patient dialysis. So I was made to why did you advise him dialysis? I said, he's a kidney failure. Without dialysis, he will die. He says, now you advise him dialysis. Dialysis would cost, say, 10,000, at that time, 10,000 rupees a month. Their family income is less than 600, 700 rupees a. That means for doing that dialysis, they will have to sell the house, then the farm, then their kit. So in 6 months' time, they will sell everything. And at 6 months, they will come back to the same situation which they have today. And at 6 months, you will take a decision, don't do it, let him die. Then let him die. So at 6 months later, you are going to take a decision, let him die. But in these 6 months,
He has lost the house, he has lost the farm. And
therefore, if you are going to tell him that dialysis can save him, they will sell everything. Therefore, don't tell him. He said he's his child. If you tell him, he will go all on the way to.
These are very, very complex.
That's talking about social determinants. These social determinants of health are very, very, very important for us. We face it every day. But now we are scared. Now we are scared. I went to DPS and they said 600 medical certificates of school children they get every day. And we know all of them are fake. But now we are scared in giving any certificate. We don't want to help. We don't want to help. If a person says, I have a road traffic accident, we don't want to help. MLC has to be made. We don't care.
You're right also. Because situations are becoming like this.
As on today, if a person dies at home, don't take him to the hospital for confirmation. Call a doctor at home, confirm and let him die at home. So you take him to the hospital, brought in dead, autopsy has to be done. MLC, police, autopsy. That's what the law. Now we are very scared because nobody is there to protect us.
I think we had a good discussion. There are many more issues, human rights, and we talked about rights of the doctors are also there, rights of the patients are also there. In fact, I want you to talk about online pharmacy also. What is the, if you have the time, recently we have seen that so many companies are coming up online, and you can ask for your prescription medicine from them.
E-commerce.
E-commerce in medicine.
In medicine.
Supply of medicine.
Correct.
IMA is of a stand that it should not be allowed
Okay.
because of the drug and cosmetic and also many acts are there.
Okay.
So what is, I mean, the legal, how can we take a legal remedy out of this?
We'll have to examine it also because very fairly, I haven't applied my mind on this. And if there would be any legal prohibition on these companies.
As on today, it is not allowed. Government, as on today, it is not allowed. But government is trying to bring a legislation to allow it, which we feel is not in the interest of the society.
Okay.
Because what will happen is that every drug now people will be able to. You just have to send your prescription by
Scanning on.
You don't have to scan. You go to an app. You take a picture and send.
on WhatsApp and send
So
it.
therefore, how do you know this is old, new, fake?
Correct.
There is no.
See, it may become a
It's
very
like a
loose way
photocopy.
of.
It's like a photocopy.
So
It's like
today,
a-
whatever the seriousness is there in advising or prescribing
See,
medicines
as
and
on
buying
today,
them,
people say
that may
you
go.
can. As people say you can get medicines without prescription from a chemist, but that is common medicines. No chemist will give you a serious medicines or costly medicine
Without
without a prescription.
prescriptions.
He may give you a crocin or he may give you a simple medicine, but here everything, everything people can.
So what you're suggesting is that when somebody is buying medicine on internet, on these e-commerce companies, the seriousness of prescription by doctors and the chemist giving those medicine, that seriousness may go away. People may adopt unfair ways, unfair methods, and the prescriptions what they may be giving on the site may be false, they may be fake, and there may not be any way
Different
to
schedules
ensure.
of medicines also.
Yes, they can
And
be
then
used.
medicine cannot be
Issues can
equated
be
with
there.
a commodity like dal or
Correct.
sabji or whatever it is.
Correct. So some steps may be taken. Some steps can be taken to put a ban on these companies or whatever commercial organizations who want to sell the medicines on net. Some steps may be taken. If this issue can be addressed through law, then surely some steps may be taken.
Anything else you want to pick up?
No, not much of it. I mean, wanted to talk about exit exams after MBBS, but definitely I think we need to sit again sometime. And there are many more issues, and where we'll like her inputs also. She's getting more intelligent nowadays and doing a good job. In fact, I must say, I must admit here itself. So, KK, we had a nice time, and in fact, the crux of the matter was that we should be conversant with law in our day-to-day practice and keep everything in our mind that every patient can be a potential litigant.
Every patient can be a potential litigant.
So take care with every patient wherever you, wherever
But
and
I
whatever you
just
do.
share one more thing with you, Dr. Mungwa and Dr. Agarwal, that in America, I am coming across some very good doctors who, in the middle of their career, are pursuing law as their another qualification. And it's becoming a very common phenomena that doctors are also doing their legal studies and obtaining proper degrees, and then they are quite confident in what they are doing and how they are doing. So this is a very common
I think in India also in another
and
10, 12,
slowly this
10
will be
years,
happening.
every doctor will have to go through that.
They will be
Like, likely because most of the people, medical doctors, who are turning into lawyers, they are not working in the interest of the medical profession. They are,
No, that may be another
so
thing.
they are not becoming to save themselves, and they are not
may be
there.
causing further
they are-
problems
they are-
to the
they are not-
profession itself.
Because then they are the people. So either they say that we will only take cases of doctors, I can understand. But once they start taking cases of patients, then they become the.
Obviously. No, but I was talking
Most
about
of them
those
are taking
where they are
cases of the
doing it
patients
for their own
against the doctors.
satisfaction.
That is a different issue.
And they are not becoming lawyers.
They are not different issue.
I am
But
talking
today-
of those people who are practicing doctors, very good doctors, and for their own satisfaction and
That's
confidence
that's a better
that they have
yeah.
pursued
That's
law
better.
also.
But most of the people today are
Misusing this.
not. I won't say misusing it. They are becoming lawyers for a different purpose. So
Oh,
that
I
now
see.
the lawyers who want to become lawyers are doing MBBS so that they can specialize in medical field. Other way around is happening.
The lawyers are doing medical course.
See, for those people, those lawyers who want to become medical lawyers,
They are doing.
they are doing MBBS for that purpose.
Oh, okay.
Extra.
That's very.
You are talking about MBBS
Very
doctors
interesting.
doing a law.
Exploit the situation.
MBBS doctors doing a law, but there are people who primarily wants to become lawyers. They are doing MBBS. So many IAS officers are doing MBBS.
Correct.
Similarly, many lawyers who wants to practice as law,
They then do their medical.
they will do their medical field so that they can specialize in that particular field.
Maybe.
Okay, I think we thank you all,
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gupta, Ms. Ira, and KK as usual was 100% doctor and 50% lawyer also.
So that's all for today. We'll come back next Thursday, 3 p.m. with another show. Till that, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.